This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 7th day of November in the year 2022. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting. Here is what we're tracking tonight. The government this morning introduced the Constitutional Reform Commission bill, which caters for the establishment of a commission to review the country's laws. The commission will be tasked with gathering information to submit to the Parliamentary Committee on Constitutional Reform for its input before going to the House as amendments to the Constitution. In presenting the bill, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal said the country's constitutional landscape requires periodic review to ensure that as the society evolves and as the country transforms, the Constitution reflects that transformation. The Attorney General said constitutional reform has rightfully been a forefront issue for all parties, which underscores the need for the process to take place as a matter with full public participation.
This work of constitutional reform is not only of national importance, but it forms the platform promise of every single political party that contested the last election. As I said, by its very nature, it requires the full participation of the Parliament. It requires bipartisanism if it is to succeed.
Attorney General Nandlal said the PP civic government is aware that the issues concerning constitutional reform, particularly in relation to an inclusive governance model, management of elections, enhancing rights of Guyanese, and ensuring constitutional language are simplified, have formed the basis for debates in the Guyanese society.
I want to recognize my apologies. You should elevate yourself to the front row so that he can become more conspicuous, Mr. Speaker, not to upset the status of anyone so prestigiously seated, but they are absent. But, Mr. Speaker, I hope that the people of this country are looking on and are seeing that we have made a promise and we are in the process of delivering on that promise.
The Attorney General chided the opposition APNU AFC for not taking the issue of constitutional reform seriously, according to him. He, however, acknowledged that for there to be meaningful constitutional reform now, there must be consensus, which means the participation and agreement of the opposition.
We cannot travel the other half without the other side. And I want the people of Guyana to understand that. I hope that the empty benches to which I'm speaking is not a forbearing of what is to come in relation to this process.
The proposed bill received the support of Deputy Speaker Lennox Schumann, who is an opposition member of Parliament for the joiner list. Schumann believes that constitutional reform is paramount, and he has urged full participation of everyone to drive the process forward. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say. But now that it's here, it will change life forever. And it is here to stay. The future is now. Transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
Giftland Office Max, we're all about customer satisfaction. Whether it's clothing and shoes for the ladies, gents, and kids, or for the latest electronics or hardware appliance, we're always thinking of satisfying you, our dear customers. Now you can shop online at www.giftlandofficemax.com or visit us at the Giftland Mall, where we're happy to serve each and every one of you.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
Get in the game with Buster. Win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, and many more top gaming prizes. Check below for details.
Let's tell you now that Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, today turned down yet another opposition motion. The House Speaker refused to entertain a motion by Opposition Leader Aubrey Norton, which sought to address the need for a clean voters list and safeguards to avoid voter impersonation.
Mr. Speaker, you are aware that every observer that observed the 2022 elections suggested the need for a clean voters list. In fact, CARICOM did say at the earliest opportunity it should be dealt with.
Mr. Norton said the motion recognizes the Chief Justice's decision as it relates to removing persons from the list. The opposition leader's motion was proposing the enactment of new legislation to deal with the question of cleansing the voters' list, which he remains is terribly flawed.
Mr. Speaker, if one look at the emerging voters list, you will see out of a population of 750,000 people, 682,000 persons are on that list. And therefore that suggests that it cannot be a credible list. Mr. Speaker, as well, if one looks just at the United States Homeland Security past 4 to 5 years, more than 54,000 people would have migrated. And so it should be obvious to most that the list has to be clean.
In response, the Speaker said the matter does not qualify as one of definite public urgent importance.
I consider this motion at this time not of the urgency that requires this debate. So I would be unable to allow the motion to proceed further than this.
The opposition has long argued that the official list of electors is bloated and must be cleansed, while in opposition, the governing PPP also had a similar position. In a report on Guyana's preparedness for a marine oil spill response, the Auditor General Deodat Sharma warns that significant legal and operational gaps could hamper the country's response to an oil spill. In the report, he said the government has plans and resources to respond to marine oil spills, but there are significant legal and operational gaps that could hamper response efforts, noting that this is especially true of larger spills, where the risks are greatest. The performance audit was conducted for the period January of 2019 to June of 2020. The Auditor General explained in his report at the time that a legal and regulatory framework, which included the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, should be reviewed to ensure that the government's requirements for oil spill response are not only well defined but established to allow for a safe, efficient, and effective response in the event of a hazardous oil spill. The Office of the Auditor General, in conducting the review, found that regulations for spill response to protect human health and the environment were not in place. The report said the government has not made or even identified all the legal changes required by international treaties, including those dating back to the 1990s, and that moreover not all identified legal gaps have been addressed. Further, it was observed in the report that no action was taken by the government at the time to approve draft regulations to protect against oil spills, adding that regulations for environmental protection and pollution control from petroleum activities in an offshore area were not finalized. Citing an example, the Auditor General said proposed regulations include requirements for emergency response procedures to be taken by operators during an oil spill incident. It was also noted that while an oil spill response plan was in place, it had operational and resourcing gaps, and it was explained that the government did not conduct an assessment to identify all the risk that may arise. Given the existing weaknesses in the country's oil spill response plan, the Audit Office stressed the need for the government to put systems in place to address those gaps. Guyana commenced oil production in December of 2019. Turning now to the Elections Commission of Inquiry. Former executive member of a new and United Guyana party, Jonathan Yearwood, told the Commission of Inquiry today that the process of tabulating and verifying the votes cast per party in Region 4 went downhill after the Guyana Elections Commission's IT officer took over the process at a command center at the Ashmans building. According to Yearwood, the numbers called out by Mr. Leven and another GCOM staff during the wee hours of the 5th of March 2020 were simply not corresponding with the votes cast per party, as stated on the statements of poll.
The two gentlemen started the verification process, and within a very short period of time, we realized that numerous mistakes were being made.
The former ANOG executive explained that Mr. Leven and his colleague took over the tabulation process at around 1:20 in the morning, after the deputy returning officer and another female colleague, who was pregnant, had halted the tabulation process at around 9:30 the previous night. The women had complained of feeling tired. It was noted that prior to the arrival of Leven and his colleague, the process was going smoothly.
We got annoyed about it because earlier everything was going okay, and now we were suddenly getting large amounts of mistakes, and we were very upset about it.
Here was to the party agents present, which included the People's Progressive Party, ANOG and other smaller parties, objected to some of the numbers that were being called.
We saw he had a document in his hand.
He had a piece of paper or something
that appeared to be a statement of poll. Whether he had a document in front of that, I have no idea. But what we do know is that the numbers that were being called out were not the numbers reflected with what we had.
Yearwood was the third witness to appear before the three-member Commission of Inquiry into the highly disputed 2020 elections.
Calling all prospective homeowners. The government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Housing and Water, will be rolling out its steel and cement housing subsidy program from Tuesday, October 25, 2022. Applicants must be a citizen of Guyana residing in the country, must be in possession of a title or transport for their house lot, must have an approved building plan and loan approval from a financial institution. Persons with a builder's estimate below $6 million can qualify for 1 sling of cement, 80 lengths of half-inch steel rods, and 63/8-inch rods. Those with builder's estimate ranging from $6 million to $25 million can qualify for 2 slings of cement, Application forms can be uplifted from the Ministry's Brickdam Main Office, Georgetown, and all regional housing offices from Tuesday, October 25, 2022. For more information and online applications, visit our website at chpa.gov.gy.
Census takers are visiting communities across Guyana and collecting information from every household. This information will help the government to plan better for our country's development. All the information shared will be treated as strictly confidential, and everyone is asked to participate. No one should be alarmed about any question asked, because the answers provided will help to improve living standards, decrease community crime rates, and improve access to housing and healthcare, among other benefits.
The census gives us the tool to identify some of these important gaps that exist across communities, within communities, and across regions, so that we can have targeted intervention.
Yeah, we counting way from region 1 to region 10, the whole country. Yeah, we counting way.
Attorney at law Tamika Clark, who was arrested and detained just over a week ago by the Special Organized Crime Unit for advising her client to remain silent during questioning, has approached the court seeking damages and several declarations, including a declaration that her fundamental rights, as enshrined under the Constitution, were breached. In court papers filed by Clark's attorneys from the Hughes, Fields and Stobie law firm, she's petitioning the court to declare that her fundamental rights to personal liberty, as guaranteed and protected by the Constitution, was breached by officers of SERCU. She's also seeking damages for the wrongful arrest and detention, and further damages for false imprisonment. Attorney Clark also wants the court to grant her damages for the threat of the arrest to her days before the arrest actually took place, and damages for the breach of her fundamental rights. Several local and regional bodies have condemned the Guyana police force for the attorney's arrest, which they believe was an attack on the rule of law. On Friday, over 50 attorneys picketed the SOCO headquarters over the arrest and the slaughter of the police investigations. The Guyana police force has indicated that the file on the arrest has been completed and was sent to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions for advice. Let's tell you now that the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit is continuing its drug eradication initiative in the Berbice region. And on Saturday, 4 men were busted with more than 250 pounds of marijuana, worth some $14.3 million. A Kanu statement said that with assistance from the GDF Coast Guard, it was able to intercept 2 vessels in the quarantine area after they were suspected to be involved in drug trafficking. A search of those 2 vessels uncovered a large amount of marijuana along with a shotgun and several rounds of ammunition. The 4 suspects were arrested. They have been identified as Daniel Passand, Adrian Hetmeyer, Imami Fizal, and Surin Mohan. 2 of them are Surinamese, while the other 2 are Guyanese. The suspects, along with the marijuana and the shotgun and ammunition, were taken to the Kanu headquarters. Charges against them are to be filed later this week. Investigations have been launched into the murder of a man along the Lusignan Prison Road on Saturday. He has been identified as 27-year-old Delon Hendricks. The body bore several stab wounds to the neck, according to the police. Investigators believe he was stabbed to death during an argument. According to a police statement, the body was discovered by a resident of the area shortly after the resident heard loud screams from the roadway. The resident immediately contacted the police upon seeing the body. Emergency services responded, but they could not do anything to save him. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The investigations are ongoing tonight.
We counting way from region 1 to region 10, the whole country.
We've just completed our census interview. It's quite a simple process. Whenever the team comes to your home, kindly cooperate and get the interview done, because it's also important for the information to be available to us as a government to plan and implement our programs and projects for the development of Guyana, a development that you will benefit from.
We counting way from region 1 to region 10, the whole country.
Food Max Supermarket, located on the ground floor of the Giftland Mall, is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. We stock a variety of imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
Rooms and more, Republic, a brand new rug on the floor. Come to Republic, come to Republic. Whatever you need, you got it. Come through and get your mortgage. Live the dream with Republic.
95 to 100% financing, 50% waiver of negotiation fees, plus one lucky person gets their mortgage paid in full. Turn some day into today. Talk to Republic Bank about your low-cost mortgage today.
Get in the game with Buster. Win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, and many more top gaming prizes. Check below for details.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up, fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guyana Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guyana's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, at least 6 people died from torrential rain and flooding in the Dominican Republic's capital of Santo Domingo over the weekend, as authorities began assessing the damage and removing debris and other materials. Parts of the capital saw up to 9 inches of rain on Friday afternoon and Friday night, twice the estimate for the entire month. Rains paralyzed the capital for several hours over the weekend and caused flooding that dragged vehicles into rivers, led to landslides, and destroyed several homes across the capital of the Dominican Republic. The president, who on Saturday had declared a state of emergency for the capital and the neighboring province, said specialists were assessing the damage and would present an estimate by tomorrow. The Venezuelan government has rejected a decision by the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to resume an investigation into alleged human rights violations by the South American country's officials. Last Tuesday, the prosecutor applied for authorization to continue the investigation after he had received a significant amount of information provided by Venezuela to date, as well as other credible sources. But the Venezuelan government pushed back. In a statement, it called Khan's vision prejudiced and vowed to defend the truth and demonstrate the productive work of the authorities in the investigation of all the complaints of serious crimes against people. And finally tonight, international news. Kenya's transport minister has made public documents about a massive Kenyan railway project signed with China after years of secrecy. The $3 billion Chinese-funded operated railway line is Kenya's biggest infrastructure project since independence in 1963. Its viability has been repeatedly questioned since it was launched. The line runs between the port city of Mombasa and the capital of Nairobi, and there are plans to extend it to the port city of Kisumu in the west. Publicizing details of the railway's loan agreements was one of the president's campaign promises in order to end speculation among Kenyans on what the government signed on their behalf. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.